A new Memphis Grizzlies season is here, which means a new NBA schedule is here. And we got to break it down right now. The easy stretches, the tougher stretches, and the stretches that are kind of in between. Coming up right here on Locked On Grizzlies. Let's get into it. Memphis Grizzlies schedule breakdown. Stay tuned.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I am your host today, Damichael Cole, beat writer for the Commercial Appeal here in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you guys for tuning in with us each and every single day. And yeah, I'm looking down at my Palm Pilot. I know what day of the week it is. This is usually Joe Monarch's day, but he getting the day off, so I'm in charge of the reins now. So I gotta say it. It's Friday. It's Friday, and we got to get down on Friday. So appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies. And remember to make Locked On Grizzlies your first listen each and every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. Remember that today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com/LockedOnNBA for 50% off your first year. Make sure you go take advantage of that now over at Monarch Money. We got a lot to talk about on today's episode. The NBA schedule is here. In the previous episode, Joe Monarch talked about some things that we were looking forward to in the NBA schedule. But now we got the schedule. We know what the beginning of the season looks like. We know what the end of the season looks like. We know I talked about it previously, the stretch around when the Grizzlies go to Europe. Like, what's that going to be like? And now we have all of those details to break down in today's show, and we're going to get through all of it. It's a challenging slate. It's a challenging slate for everyone in the Western Conference, so that's no surprise. That just comes with being a team in the West. But you know what? It is a manageable slate for the Grizzlies. At the end of the day, if they're going to be a good basketball team, it's going to be a manageable slate. If they're going to be a bad basketball team, it's not going to be that manageable. But that's neither here nor there. The main takeaways from this schedule, there's a lot to unpack, but we got to start with the fact that the first thing that stood out to me is bam, bam, bam. First 3 games of the season, first 3 games at home. Also, end of the season, last 3 games of the season, all on the road. So there's definitely you start 3 in a row at home, you end the season 3 in a row at home. On the road. The Grizzlies have the chance to come out swinging, because it's not just that you get 3 games in a row at home to start the season. You start the season against New Orleans Pelicans, currently not projected to make the playoffs. Then you get the Miami Heat. They should be all right, but I don't think anyone's expecting them to go past the first round in the East, if that. Then you get the Indiana Pacers. No Miles Turner. No Tyrese Halliburton. Out for the season. Miles Turner, Milwaukee Buck now. So you get 3 teams, and you basically can say neither of those teams are championship contenders. This is a chance for the Grizzlies. I want to say start 3-0. I know some of you are going to say that. But worst case scenario, this is a chance to start 2-1. And then when you take it a little bit further, because they got 2 away games right after that. At Golden State, that's probably going to be a pretty good team. At Phoenix, it's going to be a team that's probably finding itself. You look at that 5-game stretch, 3-2 at worst, 4-1 potentially if you're really planning on the Grizzlies to hit the mark. Like, this is the opportunity. Come out, build some confidence. You got a bunch of young players. You got 3 games in a row at home against 3 games they'll probably be favored in, possibly. And the other thing, before we get into the next step of this equation of these first 5 games and what comes after that, the other thing about this stretch is, we talked about it in previous episodes. It's going to be really important to see what the beginning of that Grizzlies schedule looks like, because there is the possibility that Jaren Jackson Jr. is not ready at the beginning of the season. I say it's a possibility because he has not been ruled out for the beginning of the season as of today. Still an opportunity. Still the chance. Jaren Jackson Jr., he'll be reevaluated in late September. Preseason action begins on October 6th. The Grizzlies' first preseason game is on October 6th. Their last preseason game is on October 17th. That is a big stretch there where Jaren gets reevaluated in, late September, and they say, hey, let's ramp him up. Maybe play a couple preseason games, get him ready for the regular season. Very plausible. Very much possibility. But with Zach Edey, he's already been declared out for the beginning of the season. So you're going to be down at least one of your starting bigs, possibly both. And that's what I'm factoring into the fact that the urgency for the Grizzlies to come out this season starting strong, beating the Pelicans because you should, beating Miami because you should, beating the Pacers because you should. I mean, you should. You're a solid team in the West, right? Should beat those teams. Splitting Golden State and Phoenix. At least. Golden State's going to be really good. That's going to be a tough game. Phoenix, they're going to play hard. I had someone I was talking to about this yesterday, talking about this Phoenix games against Phoenix. And like, Grizzlies fans know better than anyone. Grizzlies fans know better than anyone. Teams with Dylan Brooks, they're not just going to pack it in. Yeah, the roster might not be Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, whatever, but they're going to play hard because they got a guy over there, Dylan Brooks. He doesn't ever want to lose to the Grizzlies. This isn't just me talking. Go look it up. He said it himself. He doesn't ever want to lose to them. He doesn't want to lose to Memphis. So when you factor all of that in, we're talking about the fact that the injuries to Jaren, to Zach Edey, that stretch, that first 5 games is going to be really important. But then it's going to be even more important because of the next 10 games that come behind it. Some people will say that's probably the toughest 10-game stretch on the Grizzlies schedule. Let's go through it real quick. Starts on Halloween. It's safe to say this is a scary part of the schedule. It starts on Halloween against the Los Angeles Lakers. You get the Lakers at home, at Toronto. Then you play Detroit at home, Houston at home, Dallas at home, Oklahoma City at home. Then 4 games on the road against the New York Knicks, Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, San Antonio Spurs. Now, I just listed all the games kind of in quick order. But let me tell you what I'm seeing, why I think this stretch is particularly tough. The Lakers at home. Congratulations, you get them at home, but that's Luka. That's LeBron. They got a couple bigs over there now. You go to Toronto. Last year, Toronto was bad. This year, Toronto's going to have Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, a healthy Emmanuel Quickly, Scotty Barnes potentially should be an all-star, Jakob Poeltl. There's a lot of talent over there with Toronto. Detroit Pistons, playoff team last season. Cade Cunningham, they got nice pieces. Houston Rockets, we know what they are. Dallas Mavericks, we talked about them in recent episodes. Very talented roster, a big physical team that could give Memphis trouble. Oklahoma City, enough said. We don't got to talk about the reigning champs. Then the road games. At New York, the Knicks, very talented roster. Boston Celtics, shouldn't be as good. Very winnable game right there. But Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, they don't got a lot left. They don't got a lot of healthy pieces over there left. But Derek White, they're very capable. They're very capable. Cleveland Cavaliers should be fighting for the top spot in the East. And then San Antonio Spurs, we've talked about them in recent episodes. It's no surprise. I'm not that high on the Spurs, but I do understand why they're expected to be better. And quite frankly, they will be better. They'll be better than last season. And I'm not the high on them where people have them top 4 or 5. I'm not taking it to that level. But anyways, that 10-game stretch is really tough. Me and Joe Molinax will get into it in next week. We talk about breaking down some of these stretches, maybe projecting the records over these stretches. But you look at that first 5 games, it's important for the Grizzlies to come out swinging. Because that next 10 games, your confidence could get smacked if you don't start that first 5 games. If the Grizzlies start that first 5 game stretch 2 and 3, I'll be a little concerned. Because it's going to be hard to get out of that next stretch 6 and 4 or 5 and 5. It's going to be difficult. Is it doable? Yes. The Grizzlies have beaten good teams in the past. But you talk about early in the season, young roster, new pieces, figuring out a new system, new coach, all of that. When you factor in all of that, it's going to be challenging. And it's definitely something to monitor with the Grizzlies coming up. Speaking of monitoring, the first thing that I monitored when I saw the Grizzlies schedule was how many national TV games do the Grizzlies have. We got the number, and we're going to talk about the national TV outlook for the Grizzlies coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. But before we get into that, today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or even on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. But guess what? Look, if you have subscriptions that you've forgotten about you're paying for, it's easy. Monarch Money will find them for you. They'll link all your accounts to Monarch and immediately spot the subscriptions that you aren't using, canceling them and saving you money every single month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's a 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. Make sure you go take advantage of that now over at monarchmoney.com. The Memphis Grizzlies won't be on national TV a lot this season. That shouldn't be a huge surprise to anyone. They won't spend a bunch of time on national TV. But you know what? There's a lot to break down in their quote unquote national TV slate. Let's start with the obvious. They only got 10 games. 10 national televised games for the Grizzlies. Just to give you some perspective here, the most 34 games for, I believe, the Lakers, 34 games for the Warriors, 34 games for the Knicks, 34 games for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Houston Rockets had 28 games. The Dallas Mavericks, I believe, had 23 national televised games. The Grizzlies got 10. Now, it hasn't always been like this. Last season, the Grizzlies got 9. That was after, the season that was filled with the injuries. I believe the year before that, they got 13. And then if you go back to the season that followed the 56-win season in 21-22, this is when the Grizzlies were at their height, right? And from a, viewership standpoint, I guess. They got 18 national TV games that year. So you talk about the 2022-23 season, 18 national TV games. They went down to 9 after last season. Went up 1, but it's 10. Went from 9 to 10. I think, look, like we see it with the games in Europe. Like the Grizzlies are a destination. They're a desired opponent. Like people will tune in when they see Ja Morant, on TV. But there's a little bit more meat on the bone. There's a little bit more meat on the bone there. And that is very much clear from the NBA's perspective here. But if you look at the Grizzlies games, and we'll talk about this in a second, like a lot of the games are in one certain stretch. And then I think there's one game in March. There's an opportunity when you talk about March and April for some games to really get flexed. We've seen that a lot in the past with the Grizzlies where they don't have national TV games. That'll be an interesting exercise I'll probably look into as we get through the month of August, like going back and looking at how many games did the Grizzlies have scheduled on national TV, and then how many did they end up playing because of games that were flexed on national TV and things like that. And if you go through the 2022-2023 season and over the last couple seasons, it's happened a few times where it's like, wait a minute, the Grizzlies are better than we thought. Or it's also went in the other direction. The year where all the injuries happened and things like that a couple seasons ago, and they're like, this team ain't worth watching. And they got flexed off of national TV. But the way the schedule's set up, a lot of the Grizzlies games will happen during a certain stretch, which puts them in prime position to be flexed onto national TV. Something to watch. It's something to monitor. Something I'm going to be paying attention to. And speaking of that, when you look at the Grizzlies schedule, you'll notice, again, there's 10 nationally televised games. Of those 10 games, 6 of those nationally televised games will happen between January 15th and February 25th. You know what I got out of that? That's the window. The Grizzlies want to prove, hey, we're a fun team to watch. You fans out there in Cali and in San Diego, California, or in New York City, or in South Dakota, or in Texas, Maine, wherever you are, let's show you why we're fun. We get after it on defense. We get after it, on offensive end, getting out in transition, having fun. We're a fun team to watch. January, February, that's the key window for the Grizzlies to make that happen. 6 nationally televised games. Now, 2 of those are the games in Europe, right? And those are early games. I think one's at 11 a.m. and one is at, I think, 2 p.m. Local time. These are local times. But overall, I looked at the schedule, and that is the window for the Grizzlies to make some noise. You talk about the 2 games against the Orlando Magic. Both are on Prime. Then you got a game against the New Orleans Pelicans, January 30th on ESPN. Then you got a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards versus Ja Morant. That's going to be on Peacock. Then there's a couple more. You go to the Nuggets. Jokic will probably be an MVP candidate at that point. And that's going to be on ESPN. And then the typical game against Golden State at home in Memphis. Another game that's going to be on ESPN on February 25th. That's going to be a big one. That's right after the All-Star break. But that is a key stretch for the Grizzlies to kind of say, hey, we belong on national TV. We kind of can show that we belong in that element. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how that plays out as well. Overall, the way that it's kind of mapped out, the Grizzlies will have 3 games on Prime. Again, you're a Grizzlies fan, you want to watch the Grizzlies here, you're probably gonna have to download Amazon Prime if you don't already have it. Some of us already have it, but if you don't, the Grizzlies will be on Prime 3 times this upcoming season. They'll be on ESPN 3 times as well. So you got 3 ESPN games, and then there'll be 4 games split between Peacock and NBC. So think of Peacock, NBC as ESPN, ABC. I think the Grizzlies have 1 game on NBC. That's going to be December the 30th against the Philadelphia 76ers. That's an NBC game, so that's prime time. And then they also have 3 other games that are going to be on Peacock. So 3 Peacocks, 3 ESPN, 3 Prime, 1 NBC. A lot to dissect there with the Grizzlies. But I don't have a problem with the Grizzlies having 10 national televised games. I know there are going to be people that say, the league is treating the Grizzlies this way, that way, or whatever the case may be. But again, like, if you're one of those people who think that, then tell me which team in front of the Grizzlies, like, fairly, like, you're taking off. Again, let's go through some of the numbers. We talked about the Thunder, Warriors, Lakers, and Knicks having 34 games on national TV. There's the Minnesota Timberwolves, just went to the Western Conference Finals. There's the Houston Rockets, just acquired Kevin Durant. They have 28 games as well. The Denver Nuggets got, Nikola Jokic, who's arguably the best player in the world right now. Boston Celtics, that's a national brand, 25 games on national TV. Cleveland Cavaliers, we saw what they did last season. Dallas Mavericks, another big-time brand, 23 games on national TV. So these are some of the teams that kind of are going to be shown the most, so to speak. And there will be room, there will be opportunity for the Grizzlies kind of to, earn their way into playing more national TV games. But as of now, that's the slate. I don't got a big problem with it. Love the fact that the Grizzlies' first national TV game is going to be against the Lakers Halloween night. I think it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a great opportunity for them as well. But they're far few in between after that. Like you're talking about, Oklahoma City in December 22nd. It's the next one after that game in October. So no nationally televised games pretty much throughout the whole month of November. But you know what? There are two games that's going to be added to the Grizzlies schedule through the NBA Cup. And if they do the thing in the Cup, right? If they perform well in their NBA Cup group, there's going to be an opportunity for the Grizzlies to get more nationally televised games in December. So we'll see how that turns out. But there's another thing that stood out to me about this schedule. We're going to call it the race to the finish. I got a lot to talk about in this last segment about The race to the finish is what we're going to call it, coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. So make sure you stay tuned for that coming up here next on Locked On Grizzlies. The race to the finish. Here's why I'm calling it that, because you look at the schedule, right? And the one thing that I wanted to see was before and after the Grizzlies trip to Europe. So we're going back to January 15th, January 18th. That's when those two games in Berlin and London take place. I want to say, okay, how many days do the Grizzlies get off before and after those trips? Because those are long. I looked them up. Those are some long travels. And right now, January 11th, the Grizzlies will play the Brooklyn Nets. January 11th, then they play January 15th. Then they play the 18th, right? 15th and 18th are the Europe games. Then after the 18th, they play again on the 21st. So if you do the math real quick, that's 2 games in 9 days. To me, that feels almost like a mini All-Star break. But while the Grizzlies will get that rest in January that a lot of teams won't get, they'll feel it on the back end. And I knew it would come in at some point of the schedule, but it was like, when? Will it be before the Grizzlies play this stretch in January, the 2 games in 9 days? Will it be during the month of January? Like, will they cram games after, right after, and right before? Or will they happen in what I felt like it's probably going to be the worst case scenario towards the end of the season? That's what the Grizzlies got. The Grizzlies will play 16 games in March. It's the most games they'll play in any month. They also have 4 back-to-backs in March. It's the most that they have in any month. The Grizzlies have 14 back-to-backs total. 4 alone will come in March. March is going to be the juggernaut month for them. If the Grizzlies are to, again, finish strong, March is going to be the challenge. It's a lot of games, and it's not just a lot of games. It is tough competition, make to stand. When you talk about these back-to-backs, the first back-to-back on the road, Brooklyn and Philadelphia, that one's not too difficult, whether it be the teams or the travel. But a road back-to-back at Brooklyn, at Philadelphia, I've taken that trip in one day a bunch of times, right? So you got that one on there. But you also got Minnesota, Portland, March 3rd, March 4th. At Minnesota versus Portland. That's probably going to be a tough one with the travel. And then, Minnesota going to Minnesota. That's going to be a tough game as well. Houston, Chicago is another one that's mixed in there. 2 home games. Houston Rockets, Chicago Bulls. That one really doesn't sound, like the worst case in the world, but it's also on there. And then you got Boston, Charlotte. Boston at home, you go on the road to Charlotte Hornets. So overall, like, the games against the opponents aren't the worst thing in the world. Like, that is the good thing when you talk about the race to the finish here. It's not the worst thing opponent-wise, but it's going to be taxing. And if this season was any indicator, like, you look at the young players, because they're going to need young players to play big minutes. Like, go look at Jalen Wells' numbers. October, November, December, January, February, March. You'll see what I'm about to say. And as the season went on, especially when you got to March, things got difficult. And Jalen will tell you he will tell you this himself. This isn't just me talking. Like, he kind of got tired toward the end of the season. So, when you talk about a guy like Cedric Coward, getting a bigger opportunity, you talk about Jalen Wells now stepping into his year 2, you better hope that they're going to be kind of ready for that stretch that's going to happen in March, because it's going to be an important stretch. But March isn't all bad. April isn't all bad. It's also, to me, a very winnable stretch in there. And it comes at the back end of March 25th to April 3rd. There's a 6-game homestand, longest homestand of the season for the Grizzlies. 6-game homestand in there for the Grizzlies. You get San Antonio Spurs, Chicago Bulls, Phoenix Suns, Dallas Mavericks, Toronto Raptors. If we're going team by team really quick, San Antonio Spurs, they're expected to be better. But I've stood on business about this. They'll be solid, but I mean, I don't expect the Grizzlies to not beat them. So there's that. Houston Rockets, you're gonna play them at home. I expect Houston to be really good, but at least you get them at home. Chicago Bulls, very winnable game. Phoenix Suns, very winnable game. Dallas Mavs, this is April we're talking about, so Kyrie Irving should be back by that point. They're probably going to be really good, but you get them at home again. It all boils down to you get them at home, and then the Toronto Raptors, they should be improved. I don't know how good they'll be, but say it with me, you get them at home. 6 games in a row at home. A couple teams probably could compete for championships in there, but at the end of the day, that is not the worst stretch in the world. I think that's a very winnable stretch for the Grizzlies. That's a good opportunity for them to make some leeway in the standings, right? Whether that's create separation from other teams or it's to make your way up the standings and possibly like fight your way out of a play-in spot or fight your way into a play-in spot. We don't know how it's going to go, but somewhere in there, like it's a good opportunity, that 6-game stretch, to make a move in the standings. Right after that, you only got 5 games left to close the season. At Milwaukee, get Cleveland Cavs at home. If Cleveland is what I think they'll be at that point of the season, they probably won't be playing for much. They'll probably have a little cushion in the Eastern Conference, and you get them at home, they'll probably be resting some of the guys. Makes a lot of sense. And then you got the Denver Nuggets, Utah Jazz, Houston Rockets. Same things with those teams. Denver should be really good. Houston should be really good. We'll see what they're playing for at that point. Utah, they're probably going to have a few G Leaguers in playing at that point of the season. But the starting point for me is the beginning of the schedule is tougher. Beginning of the schedule, again, first 5 games, you got a little stretch where you can kind of do some damage there if everything goes right. But after that, the 10 games after that, and then you get into December, some really tough games on that Grizzlies schedule. It's really tough. It's going to be really tough for them to do what many people around here, I'll say, want to happen. It's going to be tough. But when you look at the last month, when you look at March, when you look at April, a lot of winnable games, a lot of games at home. Yes, it is going to be taxing. It's going to be taxing. 16 games in March. They got a couple other months with 15. Like it's not the end of the world. But at the same time, 4 back-to-backs, I'd be around these dudes enough to know back-to-backs aren't just gimmies, especially when you're playing in March. Everybody's dealing with something in March. Got a little low back soreness, knee soreness, shoulder soreness, something. You ain't just 100% pain-free in the month of March. So it's a challenging schedule. But guess what? This is the only time that we're going to break down the schedule. We're going to have more going forward in detail. Me, my co-host Joe Monax, breaking down everything related to the Grizzlies schedule. Thank you for making Locked On Grizzlies your first listen today. For your second listen, find the Locked On NBA podcast, where there is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies with me on today and breaking down the NBA schedule. Again, a lot to like, a lot to not like. Let me know what you guys think of the NBA schedule as well. Did you like the way it shaped out for the Grizzlies? Yeah. Or you're one of those people, you don't really care. Line them up, pick them up, put them down. Whoever you play to win the game. And that's that. It's simple as that. You're going to play 41 games at home. You're going to play 41 games in a row. You're going to play your division opponents 4 times. The end. So depends on how you shape up the schedule, whatever the case may be. Let me know what you guys think as well on that. But again, thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies on today. Remember that Locked On Grizzlies is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen, wherever you watch. Until next time, I'm Damichael Cole, and we'll see you on Locked On Grizzlies.